Hey, we got a special. I like to call her Miss NBC now. I like to call you Miss NBC. She's an actress, comedian, director, and writer. Alycia Cooper, everybody. Welcome to our podcast, Mr. Alycia. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you so much for having me. How's your week been?
It's been great. It's been great. Now that we got you, we feeling real great. I feel like I can do anything now. I feel like we got Miss NBC up in this thing. So first off, what inspires you to be a comedian? What inspires you to do what you do?
You know what? I'm from the DC area,
Nice.
and where we grew up, it was full of joning, which is like bagging, cracking, playing the dozens. We grew up doing all of that. We grew up with go-go music, so we would mortify our white elementary school teachers because we'd be banging on the desk like some Watusies playing our go-go music. So we've all,
Right.
just the area is very lively and entertaining. And then my family,
Right.
my whole family's funny, whether they want to be funny or not.
Right.
They are just hilarious. So, so it just was a natural progression for me, but I didn't think of it as a career until I saw Def Jam
Right.
on
Right.
HBO.
Okay. So who are your favorite comedians over time, like over your career? Who inspired you to do what you do?
I loved and still love Chris Rock. He was telling Mayor Marion Barry jokes when nobody else was talking about him.
Right. Right. Right.
So and I love Chris. Chris can make everything funny. That recently, because since he became married and had kids, he now talks about family stuff. But prior to that, Chris was killing them with current events.
Yeah.
And I love current events. So
Right.
I love that. Growing up, I liked everything because I grew up with my older cousin Karen, who was 9 years older than me, and I watched everything she watched.
Right. Right.
She watched comics like Judy Tenuta, Gallagher, Robin Williams, saw the Whoopi Goldberg one woman show when I was in elementary school. Roseanne, Arsenio. There was just so many. Marsha Warfield. So I grew up on all of them. And then as I got older, Margaret Cho. She was really the first Asian female comic that blew up the way she did, imitating her parents.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and Margaret Cho would have me in tears. So, just a eclectic group of comedians. And then now, as I'm older and more mature, I really appreciate what Dave Chappelle does.
Yeah, we love Dave over here. We love Dave. Love Dave. One of our favorites as well. I want to ask you questions about how was it like working with Pauly Shore? That's one of my favorite dudes growing up. Pauly Shore, I seen the trailer. Man, I almost spit out my coffee. I'm like, whoa. How was that? House guest, wasn't it? Yeah, guest house.
Guest house. Yeah, Pauly and I are really good friends. And we became friends when I became a regular at the Comedy Store. The comedy club his parents have owned for 50 years.
Yes.
Matter of fact, they're having a 50th anniversary this April of the Comedy Store. So, Pauly was born in the comedy club. So, once I started working there regularly and he would see me over time, because a lot of the bigwigs have to see you over time before they start warming up to you, because they might think you're a flash in the pan or you might be here one night. But when they see you for years, like I've been at the Comedy Store for years, then you can start forging friendships. And Pauly is funny. He is funny.
Yeah.
He cracks me up. And I like him since he was on the MTV shows back in the day.
Me too. Yep, in the 90s. Yep.
In the 90s, then he became the Weasel. And I mean, he's funny. And Pauly actually, I didn't even have to audition for that.
Whoa, that's big. That's saying something. That's saying something now. Yeah.
Yeah, Pauly was like, I got something for you. And they sent me the script and the rest is history. And we had a great time together. Guest House trended #1 on Netflix at one point.
Right. I think your chemistry is crazy. Y'all chemistry is crazy. I want to see y'all do more projects together. I think it's amazing to have y'all both together like that, kind of play off of each other. So, Fat Stripper, man. I seen that trailer. Oh man, I've been hooked on it. You wrote that, right? You wrote that, right?
Wrote it, directed, and produced it. Yes.
Wow. What an amazing job you did on that. What inspired, did the pandemic inspire that? Or how did your mind work to come up with Fat Stripper?
Yeah, it was pandemic related because, as you know, none of us could have foreseen this pandemic. So when it hit, we all sitting around with nothing but time and nothing to do. So I sat around for like 2 or 3 months like, oh, no, there's got to be something better out here. So I just started writing short films for myself. And the crew that I used for the second film, the first film I did was called Trade. The second, that was done the year before the pandemic. The second one I did called Just Us, I wrote that one and used the crew that I really loved. Was lucky enough to find a really good crew. That crew was so good, and we were all sitting around doing nothing. I said, well, I'm gonna come up with something else and use that same crew again. So then I came up with Fat Stripper, which was basically about what a girl had to do because of a pandemic. She had to go back to a strip club she used to work in 20 years ago when she was thin.
Right. Where can the people find that at? Where can we find that at, Fat Stripper? Everybody need to see that.
They can find it on my website, AlyciaCooper.net.
Okay, AlyciaCooper.net. We're gonna put it up on our website too, if that's not a problem, because I want the world to see that. That was amazing, man. Had me rolling. So, are you still going on? Are you still going to do stand up now that you miss CBS now? Not CBS, but NBC now.
Yes. You know what? For the comics who really have this deep in our bones and deep in our DNA, we can never fully go away from it. Even Seinfeld, I think he did Seinfeld for what, 10, 11 years? Yep. He still went back.
He still goes back.
Because it's something in you that keeps you. Now, the difference in, I could never do what Jerry did as far as walking away for that long and coming back. If I go away that long, I ain't never coming back, because this is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
There's no material he can tell 11 years later that was hitting 11 years earlier, because times have changed so much. So now he has to come up with an entirely different act. So, and the first year of stand-up is the hardest year. So if I walked away, I'm not coming back. So what I decided to do was, regardless of how many networks I'm on and how many films I do, I'm still going to do comedy at least one night a week. So I can at least keep my skills sharp.
Yeah, kind of keep you up on your chops. I can see that. So in this climate of cancel culture, how do you handle that? Maybe walking that thin line between the joke and maybe taking it too far. I always wonder, how do y'all handle that?
Yeah, some of my jokes go too far, but luckily for me, I'm not at the level where nobody's going to take the time to try to cancel me. I'm too small. But
That's
they be like, cancel. Yeah, they be like, cancel Alycia. We be like, Alycia who? So now's the time where I can get all my good stuff out.
Right.
Now, once I get bigger, I might have to try to figure something else out. But, one thing that Dave and those guys, Chris and those guys do is they take your phone as soon as you arrive.
Yeah.
So when you go to their shows, because they don't want you uploading, they don't want you, for a lot of reasons. One of those jokes, they're still working on them. But two, because they don't need their stuff out to the masses and then everybody getting butt hurt. They weren't there at the show. It's a different energy being at the show than watching something online. And they just don't want to deal with the mess. So that's probably what I would have to do at a different level, because I say some cancelable stuff.
Okay. I think I do that too a lot. We too small here too, but as we grow, I got to say what I feel. I have to. I miss the 90s of Def Jam, when you can come on stage and just say what you wanted to say, because it was comedy,
Yes. And my thing is, as long as people aren't up there vicious, malicious, talking about kill this entire group or they don't deserve to live, which wouldn't be funny anyway.
Right.
I don't have a problem with what anybody says. And say, for instance, there's a comic, and this comic is a known racist.
Right.
If they have a group of people who want to go because they're racist too, and they want to go and patronize a racist, and they want to sit there and have a good N-word night.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. Go enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to pay, but you should have the right to go somewhere and hear that particular brand of comedy, because it's your right as an American.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't think racist comics should be stopped.
Right.
Let them do what they do.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is then they're going to turn around and say, now you can't say what you want to say because this guy was stopped from saying what he wanted to say. And I'm in the business of everybody should be able to say what they want to say. Now there's going to be consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Always.
But I feel like if I tell a joke or I do something and you don't like me, don't spend your money on me.
Right.
But let the people who want to spend their money on me spend their money.
All right, man. Hey, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. That's a jewel right there, y'all. She's definitely dropped a jewel right there. So moving forward, the Kenyan Show. How did that come along? How did that manifest for you?
Yeah, Kenan on NBC. This is his second season. I watched the first season and I enjoyed it. And I was glad to find out that they were coming back for a second season. So when they came back for a second season, they had changed a few things around. They had added some more different executive producers. They added another gentleman as the director. And those new additions started making some changes to the show. Okay. And so I got a call from casting saying that they had this role and they wanted me to read for it. Now, reading for roles today is completely different than it was pre-pandemic. Actually, probably 5 years ago, they started doing these things called self-tapes, which meant you do everything yourself.
Whoa, okay.
And I mean, it is not easy. You have to open up a production studio at your house.
Yeah, basically.
Basically, you're not getting another nickel. Casting is saving money because they ain't even doing no casting sessions. And then you can't get adjustments from the casting director who's talked directly with the writers and the executive and know exactly what people want out of this role. So you're shooting in the dark, you know, trying to give them what they want, and you can't get an adjustment. Right. So you're doing what you can do. And what I try to do is I try to just do more than one take if I can. And then so you have to set up your own camera. You have to record yourself. You have to do your own slate. You have to edit it together. Then you have to compress it using Handbrake because the file is too large. Right. Then you have to upload it. So, I mean, it's like a half a day process.
Right.
So, you know, so I did everything. First of all, you got to memorize the lines.
Right. First things first. Yeah.
And that particular audition was 4 pages. Whoa. So I memorized the 4 pages and I, you know, got it recorded and sent it off. And luckily, they told me, the casting people told me Kenan was in the casting session cracking up at my audition. Straight up. And the other executives were laughing. So the fact that I had them laughing from a self-tape audition really fared well for me. And they selected me. So I was very happy to have been selected. And all that work paid off, because a lot of times you do a lot of work and you don't even hear anything back, good, bad, and different. You just do all this work, spend all this money, and you don't hear anything ever again.
I've been doing stuff for CBS casting, and I ain't heard nothing back through all that work. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna keep going though, Alycia. I'm gonna keep going, but it is hard. It's very, very hard. Trying to break into the business, not having a name is very, very hard. But you got to keep going. That's what we do. We got to keep going. So, what is it's Black History Month, as you know. What does Black History mean to you?
Black history means so much to me. My uncle Benny Cooper Jr., he was a student at North Carolina A&T, and he sat in on the Woolworth counters during the sit-ins.
Wow.
And his you know, he's on the walls. He played football there. He's on the walls there to this day. And that's the kind of lineage I come from. You know, we're just natural activists, and we speak up.
Right.
And you know, so Black history means so many things to me, because when they were doing it, they could have been killed.
Right.
You know, you can look at the footage and see the brutality, and you can see how it was all systemic. Mm-hmm. So the politicians were in on it, the police were in on it, everybody was in on it. You couldn't go to the hospital because the doctors and nurses were in on it. The postal service was in on it. I mean, every branch of government was in on this tyranny against African Americans. And you know, when you look at that and you look at the history of it, I don't understand why you wouldn't want the youth to learn about this. Okay, not in elementary school, because their brains are still forming. They don't understand the deep stuff.
Right.
You know, by middle school, they doing a lot by middle school.
Yeah.
But I definitely think by high school, this stuff should be taught. You don't have to call it critical race theory, because that's a college course.
Right.
But you can call it, I think everybody needs a class that talks about all of it. It doesn't have to just be African American history. It needs to be a class about race in America.
Right.
You know, you can talk about what different groups have gone through.
Right.
You know, and but this is the thing that white people need to understand. When you talk about the true history, yes, there's a whole lot about it that they should not be proud to relive.
Absolutely.
But what they can do is they can take the ones in their group and push them up. Right. You know, the freedom riders. They can name all the white people who were on the side of correctness and were good people. and push them up to the forefront. Y'all got some people in your group that were good people.
Absolutely. A lot of them march with King, Dr. King. So we can't just.
They march with Dr. King.
Yeah.
You can see them in the footage. They locked arms with Dr. King. Why don't y'all want to talk about those people?
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with that, man. I think we need to push them to the forefront and shed light on them too. I think a lot of times they think we're just trying to like cancel them for what happened in the past, but we're just really trying to teach. Each one teach one. To get to we gotta know our past. So I think that's
right. But it's all smoke and mirrors, because when you talk about reparations for Black folks, they'll say we weren't slave owners and you weren't slaves, therefore you don't deserve reparations. But then when we talk about teaching true history, if y'all weren't slave owners and we weren't slaves, why you butthurt about the real history?
Right. I mean, be on one side or the other, people. Come on.
You can't have it both ways.
You
can't have it both ways. But, we've been saying that double standard. Even when Obama was running, what did they say? Oh, he's a secret Muslim.
Yeah.
In the next sentence, oh, he's coming out of Jeremiah Wright's Catholic Church. Which is it? Is he
Jeremiah Wright ain't all that bad to me. That's my opinion. He ain't all that bad to me. I'm sipping my coffee on that one.
Is he a Muslim or is he a Christian? You can't have it both ways.
You just can't have it both ways. He's not a citizen. He's this, he's that. But he was one of our greatest presidents ever, I believe. So he great.
Yeah.
What's next up for Miss Alycia Cooper? What's next up for you?
Well, right now I'm writing a feature. I'm actually writing a feature and rewriting another one. So I'm trying to sell a feature that I can direct.
Okay.
So that's what I'm really doing. And on the weekends, I'm usually at the Comedy Store on Sunset, pretty much. So those are the two things going on right now. I'm still doing my comedy, but I'm doing more writing right now in an effort to direct my first feature film.
Right. Okay. I look forward to seeing more of your writing and things come to life, because, like I said, Fat Stripper is one of my favorites of all time right now. And Guest House Guest, that's one of my favorite ones. And don't forget me too when you writing those scripts. Send me one, because I've been sending them to ABC and I ain't heard nothing back. You know how that goes.
Well, I was lucky enough when Dave Chappelle came to the Hollywood Bowl a few months ago to get backstage and network, and Lizzo was backstage, and I told her I wanted her to be the lead in Fat Stripper, and she told me when it's ready, send it to her.
Okay, put it out in the universe, Lizzo. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. I got to be in the background or something, because I love me some Lizzo. Shout out to you, Lizzo. We got to get you on a late show. All right, y'all. This has been Miss Alycia Cooper. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate you, Queen.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate ours from the heart. We do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This has been Naparazzi Late Nights.